Well, it's come to this. It's always hard to do a team in which you kind of have like a good relationship, bad relationship with. Of course, always trying to find a team that you can make secondary and all that. For me, for baseball, and it's the Blue Jays, but I go with the Red Sox second of all because they're kind of lovable losers and all that. I know you could say the Cubs as well, but I thought the Red Sox were lovable losers. And when I first moved to Kitchener, that was when they won the World Series in '04. So I took Boston. Um, for hockey, it's the New York Rangers because hung around the Blue Shirt Underground Facebook group for 15 years. And practically, I knew that, you know, the closeness would help me be better as a Leaf fan. For football, I don't really have a second team per se because Kansas City kind of because my sister is a big Kansas City fan, but I'm a New England fan myself, so that's big. And of course, for basketball, for me, I got a soft spot for Golden State behind Toronto because Steph Curry and all them. But I always went with this team, and I always went with them and their dominance in the 2010s, despite the fact that one of their big three actually was a Toronto Raptors icon and left Toronto for Miami. So anyway, we're going to talk about the Miami Heat and their biggest misstep, 2022. We're playing basketball Sims. We're playing basketball Sims. He's playing What If NBA. Cutter's doing What If NBA. Yeah. Oh, all the teams around the world got to know that the Raptors are number one. But what about the Bulls, Wizards, and Pistons? They all have great stories about old teams like the Kansas City Kings and maybe even the Minneapolis Lakers. But we all know we're gonna do some basketball. He's doing basketball. He's doing basketball. What if Cutter's doing what if NBA? So what if NBA? So the Miami Heat came into existence in 1988 as an expansion team. The NBA decided to add four new teams by the end of the 80s to add some credence. So Miami, Orlando, Charlotte, and Minnesota were all given teams. Miami and Charlotte would start in 1988. Minnesota and Orlando would start in 1989. The Heat went off on a terrible start. They started 0-17 as an expansion franchise. I mean, not even Vancouver or Toronto did that because both Vancouver and Toronto won their first games in their existence. That tells you something when not even Vancouver, people say one of the worst eras in history when the Grizzlies were in Vancouver. They won their first two games of their expansion season, and the Heat lost their first 17. Nevertheless, Miami struggled and all that. They tried to find their foothold and all that. They didn't really draft that well. They had Glenn Rice for a while. And then by the mid 90s, they were starting to get good. Alonzo Mourning came over from Charlotte and a few other good Miami players and all that. Ronnie Cycli comes to mind. By the mid 90s, the Heat were doing decent, but they would always battle those pesky New York Knicks in the playoffs, and it would be blood spoiling. 97, there was a massive brawl so badly that the Miami Heat actually and the New York Knicks actually ended up having a depleted roster for the last few games of their 97 series. And 2 years later in 99, the Knicks would be the 8th seed taking on the 1 seed Miami Heat. And it was a tight series. Game 5, of course, first round was the game best of 5. The Miami Heat would take on the Knicks, but then Allen Houston hit a bucket that just jumped into the net, and Houston, with the famous celebration with 8 10 seconds left, went down the court and thumping his fist. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Like that. That's the Miami fans. And the Knicks went on not only to beat the Heat in that series, they went on to the NBA Finals. But for Miami, it was just a lost cause. Miami would start to get decent. And in 2003, something fell in their lap. They had the number 5 pick, I think it was, or something like that. Because I know in 2003, LeBron was drafted first by Cleveland. Darko Milicic went to Detroit. The joke was on us because he won a ring his first year. Carmelo went to Denver, third overall. Chris Bosh went fourth to T Dot. And then Miami got this guy named Dwayne Wade who was tearing it up with Marquette and in the NCAA tourney. So Miami said, what do we have to lose? They took D Wade and things changed. Things would really change when Shaq would leave the Lakers for Miami, kind of in a feud with Kobe and Lakers management. Shaq was a good piece of the puzzle, and Miami started to get better. By 2006, they were in the NBA Finals. And it looked like, they were going to fall to the Dallas Mavericks, who were pretty good. But then the Heat came back from that deficit and won in 6 games. So Miami won the title. Shaq won the title before Kobe. And everyone laughed. Ha 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 ha. Miami would keep the pressure going. Shaq would last a few more years before leaving Miami. But D Wade rarely left. Well, he went to Chicago and Cleveland, but D Wade was always going to be Miami royalty and all that. Jimmy Butler would always be Miami royalty no matter where he goes. But of course, Miami was getting there. And by 2010, they shocked a lot of people by signing a few players to help D Wade out. They got Chris Bosh from the Raptors, which of course pissed me off as a Raptor fan. And then in a 1 hour decision video by ESPN, LeBron announced he was taking his talent to South Beach. He could have done it in a 30-minute episode. That would have been funny. But he dragged it out for an hour. Cleveland fans were pissed. They basically burned every jersey possible, and his mural was taken off. You can blame them. But LeBron did lead the team to the NBA Finals, where they would meet their old friends, the Dallas Mavericks, and Dallas would get revenge for what happened 5 years prior. 2012, the Heat would meet the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are in the finals as of this taping, and take care of Oklahoma City with Durant, Westbrook, and Harden on the same team. 2013, they take on the San Antonio Spurs, and they look like they were going to lose in Game 6. The fans were starting to leave with like 20 seconds left. LeBron missed a three-pointer, and then the ball got poked out to Ray Allen, who was the three-point scoring leader all time before Steph Curry broke it. He puts the three-pointer up, and the Heat were tying the game. And then they won that game in overtime and won Game 7 for their second straight title. And then LeBron and company would take on San Antonio to try to prevent San Antonio from ruining their three-peat chances. Didn't work. Kawhi Leonard was just on fire, Finals MVP, and the Heat were toast. And then LeBron, for some inexplicable reason, decided to leave Miami and head back to Cleveland. Dude had it big in Miami. He kept making the finals and all that. I guess he wanted a new challenge. Chris Bosh would unfortunately retire early because of injuries and all that. You hate to see that happen. And, well, D Wade moved around. Udonis Haslem played 20 years for the Heat, and he only played for that one team. It's weird how D Wade is a Miami legend and played for multiple teams other than Miami. And Udonis Haslem, I think his number's retired. I don't know. But anyway, Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Hero. The Heat looked pretty decent. In 2023, they actually were up 3 games to none on the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Finals and thought they won Game 6 to go to the NBA Finals. Not so fast. Tyler White made the shot with decimal 1 second left, and the Celtics forced a Game 7. But for Miami fans, it was okay. They won Game 7 in Boston. All is forgiven. They would go on to lose the title, and then, a couple years later, they were looking good, but they fell into a trap, that being the New York Knicks. So anyhow, It's the big what if with Miami. It's like, what if they got to the 2022 final? All right, so the 2022 Heat, it was their 34th season, and they got swept by the Milwaukee Bucks. And the Heat lost Andre Iguodala back to Golden State. But Miami would be okay with it. They acquired Kyle Lowry from Toronto in a sign and trade, getting rid of Goran Dragic and Precious Achua. I don't think they lasted long in Raptor colors. That's for sure. But yeah, they took Kyle Lowry. They took my boy away from the Raptors. The number 7. Fuck. Nevertheless, Lowry would be okay, but he missed multiple games due to a hamstring injury. Nevertheless, he did have a double double in Game 6 of the Eastern Finals, helping Miami get to the finals. They were the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference. Miami took care of Atlanta and Philly, but then unfortunately Boston took them out in Game 7. The Heat had always made it through past the conference finals. Anyway, that's what happens. So anyway, Miami didn't have any draft picks, so they went with these guys. Bam Adebayo from Kentucky, Jimmy Butler from Marquette, who moved around a lot. Dwayne Dedmon, Udonis Haslem, who seemed to always stay in Miami. Tyler Hero from Kentucky. Haywood Highsmith, Kyle Lowry from Villanova and former Raptor. Caleb Martin, Markieff Morris, Victor Oladipo. I forgot they had him. Duncan Robinson, Max Strutz, PJ Tucker, former Raptor. Gabe Vincent and Omer Yurtseven. 53 wins. They were the best team in the East, over Boston and Milwaukee and Philly. Raptors were the 5 seed, so it was all right. It's all right. All right to be me. In the postseason, they took on the Atlanta Hawks. Lost game 3 in Atlanta. No big deal. Butler and Oladipo and Robinson did their job. And the 2022 Heat won that series. And they would take on Philly in the conference semifinals. It was a home series for the first 5 games. The home team won every time. But game 6, Miami went in Philly to go to the finals. And then in the conference finals, they fell flat at home. They were the better team. They had the better seed, so they should be better than 1-3 at home. But they didn't. They fucked everything up, especially in that game 7. I know I should have done the 1999 Heat as my what if, because they were a 1 seed that fell to an 8 seed. But I felt this team was better. Oh yeah, D Wade didn't play for this team. I think he retired. Huh. That's how much I know. Anyway, they made a few moves. Free agency. They picked up Duncan Robinson for 5 years, $90 million. A max extension to Jimmy Butler. A 1-year deal to Oladipo and Haslem. I don't know. Was this the last year Haslem was a Miami Heat? Yeah, he retired in 2023. So that was the next season. His number should be retired. Oh yeah, his number is retired. It makes sense. So yeah, they picked up Markieff Morris from the Lakers, PJ Tucker from Milwaukee. All that. They lost Trevor Ariza to the Lakers. Andre Iguodala went back to Golden State. So yeah, what would happen if the 2022 Heat did make the finals? They would have faced Golden State, and Iguodala would have had to face his former team, and vice versa. So Miami would face Golden State. Now I know both teams have won 53 games. I just don't know who would have been the number 1 seed. But I'm gonna go with Golden State. I don't know that. We'll do the best of 7 kind of like what if Golden State had home court versus Miami getting home court? I know it's kind of cheating in a sense, but they both have the same amount of wins. Like this rarely happens. So anyway, we'll go quickly. So Miami Golden State game 1 would see the Heat crush Golden State 113-96 as Bam Adebayo put up 32 points. Tyler Hero 19 points, Lowry and Tucker for 14. Caleb Martin got 10 points in 19 minutes off the bench. Strauss, Dedmon, Robinson, Markieff, Gabe Vincent, Oladipo, Haslem 3 minutes off the bench. Chris Silva, Michael Mulder, Kay said Okpala, and Haywood Highsmith. Of course, you saw Okpala was actually dealt away, but they take everyone on that team. Jordan Poole 16 points for the Warriors. Curry with 13. Iguodala had 7 points in 20 minutes off the bench. Otto Porter 15 points off the bench from Georgetown, and Kuminga 10 points. You know, Steph Curry, Andrew Wiggins, Canadian, Draymond Green, and Kevin Looney. Nina Bajelica, David Lee, Quadri Weatherspoon, Juan Toscano Anderson, Moses Moody, Gary Payton Jr., Jeff Talbot, and a injured Klay Thompson. All that. Game 2 would see the Heat lose thanks to Curry's 32 points. Hero put up 20 points, Lowry 15. 32 for Curry, 14 from Looney. Kuminga, 11 points off the bench. 1-1. Back to Miami. And the Heat would go at home, lose. In game 3 to Steph Curry, 34 points. Go Steph Curry. And Poole with 16, Looney with 11. Kuminga, 14 points in 18 minutes. Replay. Every script done for Miami got 10 points. Max Strauss got 10. Appel and Garrett doing their job. Game 4 would see Miami win. So Tyler Hero, 25 points, 8 rebounds. Curry with 21, Poole with 18. So tight series all along. Kuminga 8, Toscano 8. 25 from Hero, 13 from Tucker. 12 from Caleb Martin. It is 2-2-1-1-1. So game 5 back in Golden State. And the Heat would get their butts handed to them as Wiggins put up 24 points. Miami could not believe it. Every starter, well, PJ Tucker only had 4 points. For context, Dwayne Dedmon had more points in 14 minutes, and Duncan Robinson had more points in 12 minutes. 24 points from Andrew Wiggins, and 17 from Curry, 12 from Poole. Everyone playing. She also had Dalton. Game 6. And Miami would win game 6 on home turf. Hero doing the job, so we might go to game 7. Yeah, 17 from Wiggins, Curry with 12, Looney with 11. Kuminga and Toscano, double digits off the bench. 24 from Hero, 17 from Adebayo. Martin and Dedmon both had double digits off the bench. So 3-3 headed to game 7. And game 7 would be the Miami Heat would have won game 7. I could be your hero, baby. And Tyler Hero's 35 points would give the Miami Heat the championship over the Warriors in 7 games. So I'm not going to do it as Miami would have home court because Miami won the what if, so might as well. So Lowry and Tucker with 13 points each, Strauss with 12 points. It would be upsetting to see Kyle Lowry win the title away from the Raptors. 26 from Steph Curry. Wiggins and Green didn't do much. Iguodala didn't do much off the bench, but yeah, the Heat couldn't do anything wrong. They would have won Game 7 against the Golden State Warriors. And because Miami wins that thing, I'm going to probably just leave it at that. I might as well leave it at that. Legally, I have to leave it like that. And that's how it ends. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do.